You see right there, we talked in our last segment about the terror in Boston, and how everybody these days is becoming that cell journalist. This is amateur video from across the finish line from where that bombing happened. And as we continue our conversation here on the Roundtable this afternoon, I want to introduce my guests to you one more time. Sheriff John Tharp, Sheriff Kyle Overmeyer from Lucas County and Sandusky County as well, Jelani Jefferson Exum from the University of Toledo College of Law, and also Jim Bigelow from Bigelow Security over in Sylvania Township on Centennial. Thank you once again, all of you, for being here. You look at that video, Jelani, I'm going to start with you, but as you look at that which came in to law enforcement and authorities, we couldn't play enough of this video because we were being told to continue to play this video. Do you see it as we are starting to get into this era of everybody's an officer, everybody's a deputy, everybody's a journalist, but is it right?
You know, if whether it's right or not, you know, are you thinking, is it right legally, or is it right sort of as society sees it? Is this sort of the society we want to live in? And I guess I would say that the more that we do this, right, the more that we just as average citizens capture what everyone else is doing, the more we're actually affecting our legal rights. So the less and less it looks like we have any expectation of privacy out there in the world, because everybody is watching. Everybody's watching us, we're watching each other. And so how can we say that we expect that that we actually have privacy when we're out there?
Everybody's becoming a victim of this new paparazzi. I mean,
Exactly.
Paparazzi has the big flashes on the top of their still cams. They've got the big video cameras.
Right.
But now we're talking about cell phones. You don't know, and I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I'm just bringing up the fact. This is the day and age we live in right now.
Absolutely. We're part of it. So we're part of creating what a reasonable expectation of privacy is. So if people are concerned and you don't want the government watching you all the time, then we ought to perhaps pull back on the way we watch each other.
But are we looking at rewriting laws? Is that what we're going to see down the road as far as privacy is concerned? When YouTube started getting more, when the internet rather, when it started getting more and more popular, everybody's out there saying, police the internet more, police the internet more. So
Right.
Are we just about to do it with cell phones?
And that may be the case. The legislature can always give us more protection than the Constitution does. And so even though the Supreme Court may say there's no reasonable expectation of privacy when you're just out there on the street,
Yeah.
we certainly could have laws that say that you have certain privacy against being videotaped and recorded and having those recordings uploaded to the internet. And so that may be coming.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna go back to my love of pop music and rock and roll. But Duran Duran, you guys have heard of the band, of course. At one time, they put a song out. It wasn't played heavily on radio, but it talked about MTV and how they weren't happy with some decisions that MTV made over their career. However, the lyrics of the song said, "Don't bite the hand that feeds," because once again, the overplay of their music videos, their music, they were making money off of that. My point of this is, Sheriff, as I turn it over to you guys for a question, is you can't look at this and say it did not assist, it did not help law enforcement in some way, shape, or form to catch the Tsarnaev brothers. So we can't bite the hand that feeds. We have this at the ready, so don't poo-poo it, more or less, right?
Exactly. And we are living in an age of more crime. It's more violent than we've ever seen it before in our lives. I've been in law enforcement for 41 years now, and I can remember 41 years ago, knives were the big issue, and then it came to guns, and then now to terrorist activity and to bombing. So what we have to do is that we have to do more than less,
Yeah.
because of the terror activity that we're going through. So.
As a media member, we continually are told crime's going down, Toledo's safer, that kind of thing. But you truly believe crimes are getting more violent?
I believe it's more violent. I believe it's more violent today than it was in 1972 when I first started in law enforcement. Much more, much more.
And as far as when we look at everybody, we were in this calm period. We were in this time when, after 9/11, we thought, okay, we've got this under wraps. From a sheriff's perspective, law enforcement perspective, do you think we were getting too lax?
To a certain extent, and also getting back to the don't bite the hand that feeds you,
yes.
and we're talking about legislation and stuff like that. I think incidents like this is going to probably get involved with law and legislation, because look at this. This did help solve a major crime, and don't bite the hand that feeds you. I think they're going to go and turn around and protect surveillance like this so it continues to help law enforcement and our community. So I think something's going to happen, and it's going to happen and keep helping us.
But then you get into, and Jim, and I'm going to get to you in just a second, but then you get into this realm of, I guess, you mentioned warrants before and police coming in, and if you've got a personal cell phone and you shoot something, is that your video?
It is, but any piece of evidence can be obtained by law enforcement if it's necessary. The sheriff had talked about, if a person doesn't want to turn it over, you get the courts involved, you get court orders
because
for it.
we get video all the time that police call us and say, we need this video, and if we don't want to give it to them, then a warrant comes out, and they say, or some other type of legal document comes and says, we need that as evidence.
You get a subpoena.
Subpoena, correct.
Yeah, and that's the way it goes. It's the way it goes with any piece of evidence. And so videos just become another type of evidence that can be used by law enforcement. And unless you have some huge claim as to why you can't turn it over, there's some sort of really private information on it, it's going to be given to officers. Maybe the court will say you can't look at this part of the video, but you can look at the rest of it. But it's it's fair game.
Yeah, Jim, go ahead, Kyle.
And I hate to cut you off, but like we talked on the break, the camera is one of the best witnesses, like I said, because that witness can't lie. And hey, what the best witness, because some of those witnesses will lie. That sheriff on the stand sometimes, and that camera, that's locked and loaded and ready for you.
Jim, you see this increasing, the use of them.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. I actually remember a conversation I had maybe 5 or 6 years ago with somebody within the Toledo Police Department, and they were exploring options of almost making small businesses have camera systems. We actually put together quotes for small systems that that any of the small businesses in Toledo could go through and get at a discounted price and so on. They actually wanted every business to have a camera system. I never heard it go past really day one, but the point is the conversation was there, and if it was there 5 years ago, it's going to be there 5 years from now, and there's going to come a time when you almost wonder if these businesses are going to have cameras.
And we see a lot of local gas station operators, they have surveillance cameras for drive-offs and things along that nature. And I mean, unfortunately, we had a shooting at one just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even a week ago, where surveillance video was used because they looked at the participants who were out there at the time. So do you think it gets to that point? Do you think it's a good or bad thing? Because as I said to all of you before we came out here today, when you start talking about using video surveillance, you have got to weigh the pros and the cons. Even if you're a homeowner, I'm sure you as a business owner and putting those out there for people to buy, you've got to say, now you got to think about this, right?
Absolutely. I do see it increasing. I think it's the way it's going to go. I think that as the cost keeps coming down, more and more people are going to want it. I don't really see a big problem with it. I understand the expectation of privacy. We always make sure that we guide everybody in the right direction. If they want to do a common space in a business, no problem. They want to do maybe a back, obviously like any kind of like locker rooms or changing rooms, all those kind of things, absolutely not. Yeah. It's all about the expectation of privacy. But I believe that we're going to get to a day and age where cameras are just going to be everywhere in almost all the houses, all the businesses. I just see it increasing over the years.
And you could very well see where somebody, a business would pull a permit, pay for the permit, and with the permit, the cost of the permit, a camera would be provided as well. It's their discretion of whether or not they would want to use it. I bet most of them would do it.
Really, the biggest thing with the cameras is I think it's a deterrent. We talked a little bit ago about it, but if you have a big camera sitting up there on the wall and somebody's going to come in and do something bad, maybe I won't do it here. Maybe I'll go down the street.
If you have your own thoughts, send them to WTBG.news@13abc.com. We'd love to hear your input. Gentlemen and lady, thank you so much for joining us. Gentlemen and lady, I don't think I've ever said that before. We'll be right back right after this.
Fine.